Alrighty, thanks for tuning in once again. It's Ishmael Sistrunk with the St. Louis American and STLamerican.com here with our Rams Roundup correspondent, Palmer Alexander III. Palmer, and we're not talking about the Rams today. Done a lot of Rams coverage, but of course we're talking Super Bowl, so we know the Rams aren't in that conversation. Although, it might have looked like some Ramness snuck into the Super Bowl at the end of the game there. Of course, I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks versus the New England Patriots. One of the more memorable Super Bowls in recent history. It was a great game, by the way. The Patriots won 28-24, Palmer. So I figured that we would go through and break down each quarter, break down each play, each pass, each defensive effort. No, obviously not. All we're going to talk about is the play at the end of the game, Palmer, because nobody remembers anything else about that football game. Again, it was a great game, good back and forth battle, but all anybody's really talking about is the call at the end. Palmer, before we go there, talk about what led up to that final call, how we got in that position.
I think a lot of times these NFL coaches get into the habit of trying to outsmart themselves. The way that Marshawn Lynch was running that football, there was no way you was going to stop him. No way whatsoever. I mean, you could tell it. He smelled the end zone. And basically what the Seahawks did in that sequence was do the New England Patriots a huge favor. A huge favor. And I actually watched the replay for the second time. So this morning I saw it for the second time, and it was just a bad call, but not just a bad call, but just bad execution. I think people forget about the execution of the players. It never gets talked about. When a play works, the execution, yay. Bad, poor execution, oh, he's a dumbass play caller. And I mean, that's what we're looking at right now.
I think you make the understatement of the year when you said the Seahawks did the New England Patriots a big favor. They gave them the Super Bowl. They literally just handed it to them. They said, "Here, take our Super Bowl ring right here." When you look at the game, Marshawn Lynch, like you said, he was having an excellent game. Marshawn Lynch, 24 carries, 102 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, and if I remember correctly, Lynch had only one play where he was stopped for no gain, and even on that play, he was hit in the backfield, but he dragged the defenders, to the line of scrimmage, and that's what he did all game. He didn't have any 50-yard runs. I think his longest run was 14 or 15 yards, but what he did is what he does. He drags defenders. They'll make contact with him at the 3 or 4 yards, and he'll make it a 7-yard gain. That's what he does. That's why his name is Beast Mode. So I think everybody in the world knew that, okay, this is the perfect position for Marshawn Lynch. I was talking to Earl Austin Jr. yesterday. I told him, if I'm in that situation where you got a 1st and goal on the goal line, if I could pick any running back in the NFL to have, I'm going to pick Marshawn Lynch out of everybody. And so how does Seattle justify being in that situation and not giving him the football?
Yeah, and not only that is the way that he ran the football in that Super Bowl. That's the most physical display of a running back I've seen since John Riggins ran all over the Miami Dolphins in the Super Bowl back in 1983. I mean, just physically imposing his will on the New England Patriots. And the only way I would concede passing the football in this situation, it has to be play action pass where you're rolling them out. And worst case scenario, there's nothing there and you throw the ball away. But it's a cardinal sin to throw the ball in the middle of the field, especially when you're in the goal line situation. When you're in the goal line, there's only 2 places where you really want to throw the ball, and that's on the outside. And like I say, it was just I didn't understand it, didn't get it. I wouldn't have never done that. I would have took my chance of giving him the ball 4 straight times. I would have taken that chance because there's nothing that was going to stop him. And again, real men of genius, Ishmael. I mean, the coaches just trying to outsmart themselves.
Exactly. And what's interesting to me, because I mean everybody has basically lambasted the coach and said this is, a lot of people calling it the worst call in Super Bowl history, at least. And so you and I can make that claim, and we're sports columnists and we follow football. We're respected by some crazy people. But when you look at a guy like Emmitt Smith, who is a three-time champion, eight-time Pro Bowler, career-leading rusher, and Emmitt Smith tweeted out, "That was the worst play call I've seen in the history of football." Now that's a man who knows what he's talking about. He's seen a lot of football. He's played a lot of football. He's achieved a lot in football. So when Emmitt Smith is saying that's the worst call in the history of football, to me, I'm gonna take him at his word. I believe it. Can you think of a call that is worse than this one?
No, not in the Super Bowl. Not in the Super Bowl, none whatsoever. I mean, I was shocked. I was shocked. But again, the execution. If the play was executed, we're not even having this discussion. And I wonder, and I want to throw this at you. There's a lot of blowback in the locker room that Pete Carroll wanted Russell Wilson to be the MVP over Marshawn Lynch, which I thought was ludicrous for a second, but then, maybe it had some legs to it because there was some, that locker room was already toxic as it was. I mean, you had the Percy Harvin trade halfway through the season. You had half the locker room thinking Russell Wilson wasn't black enough, and the other half thinking he's just right. So there's a lot of underlying stories also going on in that locker room.
Yeah, and I heard that, and to be honest, that thought crossed my mind at the time. I said, is this something where he just wanted Wilson to get the touchdown over Marshawn Lynch? Because I mean, I think when you make a call that's bad, people try to figure out why. They have to say, well, there has to be a reason behind it. He can't be that stupid. I mean, they won the Super Bowl last year. He's, did a great job this season. So he can't be that stupid. So, what are the underlying factors? So the fact that there are some people reportedly, some unnamed sources in the locker room who are asking this question, gives me a little credence to it. But I think, like you said, a lot of it is he's just trying to be too smart. Pete Carroll said, the defense that they came out, our matchup was good. They came out with all the big guys, loading up the middle, anticipating a run. So he thought, okay, well, let's trick them. But for me, I'm going to take my chances with the guy named Beast Mode, the guy who was basically born for that moment. I'm going to take my chances with him on the goal line with the Super Bowl on the line. And like you said, if you're going to pass it, which any pass to me in that situation is stupid. If you get to fourth down, if he gets stopped 3 times and then you get to fourth down, okay, I understand going for a pass. But you got Marshawn Lynch, again, who's made for that situation. You got Russell Wilson, who had ran over and around the defenders all day, who looked like a magician with his feet. You could have given him the option to, like you said, do some type of play action or a bootleg, get him out on the side. So if you throw it, you throw it if it's wide open. If not, you run it or you throw it away. But to throw it in the middle of the field where all the big guys who you were just scared about running, and to say, oh, let's throw this little bubble slant or bubble screen into the middle of the field, it's just dumb. And then the fact that the offensive coordinator had the gall to call out his receiver, and again, he wasn't throwing to Percy Harvin because he's gone. He wasn't throwing to Odell Beckham Jr. or Calvin Johnson. He's throwing to a third or fourth receiver who nobody knows with the game on the line. That's like, and I've seen this online as well, but this was my first thought on it. It's like if you take the 90s era Bulls, when they were winning championships and they're down by 2 points with less than 10 seconds left, Michael Jordan is, has like Spud Webb on him or some little bitty guy trying to guard him. He went for 67 points in the game, and the game's on the line, and Phil Jackson's like, we're going to run for a 3-pointer with Dennis Rodman. just doesn't make any sense. It's just stupid. And that's not to say that Dennis Rodman is a bad player. He's a Hall of Fame caliber player, but that's not his role.
Right. Not only that is Chris Matthews was having a hell of a football game, and I even tweeted out during the game, he's very possibly an MVP candidate for that football game. 6'5". He made some spectacular catches on some pretty badly thrown balls. And again, that situation, I mean, why not throw a jump off of him? He's been playing out of his mind. And sometimes in these Super Bowls, heroes come out of nowhere. Remember Dexter Jackson against the Raiders in 2002 and Larry Brown, when he was with the Cowboys. So those things happen all the time. But back to the coaching aspect of this game, I also wonder what was Pete Carroll thinking about when he said, I want to throw, we was throwing away a down. It's like they trying to bleed the clock for a lead they don't even have. How ridiculous is that? How ridiculous is that? You're going to bleed the clock, but you don't even have a lead. That is absolutely asinine.
And here's the thing about that. Some people will say, well, Seattle's defense wasn't on their A game that day. Tom Brady was picking them apart. They had some injuries that messed up the secondary. But when you look at it, most of the Patriots' plays were short underneath passes. They were throwing to the backs, or they were throwing to Edelman or these guys underneath, and they were just quick enough to get outside, get 10 or 15 yards. Well, if the Patriots score, let's say they score with 30 seconds on the clock or whatever, again, if I have to pick any defense in the NFL to take my chances with in that situation to keep them from scoring with 30 seconds on the clock, I'm going to take Seattle. So you have this great defense, even though they didn't play necessarily a great game. New England would have had to travel an entire field in a very short amount of time. And I'm going to take my chances with Seattle defense. So the fact that Pete Carroll would say, well, we just wanted to waste that down, that's ludicrous. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard other than that play call that he made. So, Palmer, this is what I want to ask you, because during the course of the Rams season, you like to call out for people's jobs. You like to say, hey, this guy isn't getting it done. He needs to be out of here. Should somebody be fired in this situation, and if so, who?
Well, I think, if anything, Darrell Bevell is he's going to be shamed to death. I mean, because it's going to fall on him his entire coaching career. He's going to be remembered for this entire coaching career. I don't see them firing him. If I'm a Seahawks fan, I'd be very distraught. But I don't think they're that distraught up there in Seattle. I mean, especially with the growth of cannabis up in that part of the country. So I'm sure they're chilling right now. But you cannot excuse that kind of play call and doing the most critical game of the season, most critical game possibly of your career. You may never get back to that. It's just like Mike Martz in the Super Bowl XLIX loss. When I talked to Jim Hanifa, and he told me that the coaches kept saying, run the bleeping football. Run the bleeping football. And even to this day, coaches kind of get so caught up in the moment, they, lose sight of what is common sense. So, unfortunately, it happened on the biggest stage in the world, and he'd never, ever be able to lay that down.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that you said you didn't think he should be fired. I think he should be fired, and not only for the play call. It was obviously a terrible, terrible play call. But like I said, the fact that he called out his receiver and said, well, it's his fault because he didn't go strong enough for the ball. So now you're losing the respect of your players, because your players know that was a stupid call. Yeah, he said that.
Yeah, see, I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, that night, the offensive coordinator said, well, he should have gone for the ball stronger. He went for it weak and let the defender take it from him. And that's how you lose your locker room. And here's one last thing I'll say is, for me, I feel like if I was Russell Wilson in that situation and they made that play call, I would have audibled. I would not have done it. Now, maybe Wilson's only in his third year. He's won a Super Bowl, so maybe he's He's not established enough to have the confidence to do that. But I think that a Tom Brady, a Peyton Manning, or some of these more established quarterbacks, if they get that call in that situation, they're going to say, no, I'm audibling out of this. We're going to run the ball with Marshawn Lynch because that's our best chance to win. So I can't fault Westbrook a whole lot. He did make the throw, but it was just a terrible position to be in. But if I were him, and I think if he had that to do over again, I think he would have audibled out of that and called a run on his own.
Yeah, and now that you told me about that, if I'm Lockett, then I'll be wanting to get a piece of Derek Babel because how dare you throw me underneath the bus when, one, that was a suspect play call, two, I didn't throw the damn football, okay? And three, why you didn't give it to beast mode? I mean, so I would be definitely trying to stuff a mud hole in my offensive coordinator because I don't think it's right to throw your receiver underneath the bus when the ball was thrown in front of him. The ball shouldn't have never been thrown in front of him because that's the only play the defender can make to get an interception. If you throw it lower or you throw it closer towards the middle of his body, the worst thing can happen, the ball will get knocked down. But the way he threw that ball, it was perfect to be intercepted because it was up high. And when you defended somebody, like even in basketball, when you're defending the post, if you want to cheat, you always jump around, the outside of that receiver, and that ball was just put in a perfect spot for it to happen. So, you blame yourself. Blame your damn self. Blame the quarterback for making a bad throw, but the wide receiver, I don't think that was right. That's not fair. That's not fair at all.
Yeah, the whole thing bewilders me. The play call bewilders me. The fact that immediately after that, the Patriots had the ball on the goal line, and the fact that Seattle jumped off sides and basically took away a chance at a safety and a chance to get the ball back, which still would have been required a miracle, but they blew both of those opportunities back to back. I mean, it was a complete breakdown, but I think it was the fault of the coaches. I don't even look at Russell Wilson and his throw. It wasn't great, but again, it should have never come to that. It should have been a run, point blank, period. And the fact that it wasn't, again, I'm going to agree with Emmitt Smith. And, I'm not one really for hyperbole. I don't like to say best of all times, this and that. I'll take one person. I might say Jordan, I think, is the greatest, but we're in this society where everybody says this play is the greatest I've ever seen. I don't do that. I don't like to do that. But this, to me, is the dumbest call, definitely in the history of the Super Bowl. Absolutely, I think, like Emmett says, in the history of football, considering the situation and what was on the line, it was just dumb. It's not like they had Trung candidate or they had some, light scat back in the backfield. You had Marshawn Lynch, who the entire game was dragging defenders, and you decided to put the ball in the air. I don't know, indefensible.
Well, I mean, listen, when that happens in the postseason, a guy like Derek Babel, he is the culprit. Had it been a regular season, it's Brian Schottenheimer. That's the difference between the two.
And you see your boy, man, Josh McDaniels, got him a Super Bowl. I know you were happy for him, man. I know you sent him a card.
Yeah, I sent him a card, and I told him that you're number one. I told him he's number one.
And with that said,
hey Ishmael, but no, I want to say something though. But it's what's interesting about the Patriots offense is that I've never seen a team win a Super Bowl without no vertical passing game at all. It's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. They just carve you up, and they don't care if it takes 7, 10, 14 plays. They don't care. But that's if you don't have no kind of pass rush against them, you don't stand a chance at all. But on to the 2015 season. Hopefully, it won't be the last one in St. Louis.
Yeah, and you got to give the Patriots credit. Listen, I hate the Patriots. I don't like them. I was disgusted that they won, especially that way. But you have to give them credit. They played an excellent game. Like you said, they didn't get the vertical passes. They weren't there for them, but they got those underneath routes, and they were able to capitalize. So you have to give credit to Tom Brady. You have to give credit to the defense for making that play at the end. So don't let it be that they didn't play good, because they did, but Seattle still gave the game away, and you can't convince me of anything else. You hand off the ball, whether it's once or twice, Marshawn Lynch is going to get in the end zone. So, and I think that Pete Carroll, he needs to just say, I was stupid. He basically just needs to say, I was dumb, it's my fault. He keeps trying to defend it and say, oh, no, well, you know, we really didn't even think about running. You know, it was a good play call. No, it wasn't. It was stupid. You know, just say it was stupid, it's my bad, I'm the coach, and let everybody get beyond it. But the fact that he's still, like, arrogant enough to this catastrophe happened on your watch, and you're still saying, no, it was really a good play, you know, it just didn't work out right. No, it was a stupid play. It was dumb. So with that said,
on February 3rd, February 3rd, 2015, Ishmael has ripped somebody to shreds, and I'm loving it, man. I love it. It's hilarious. You hate somebody? Well, I love it. I love it.
Oh, the Patriots. Of course, everybody in St. Louis hates the Patriots. I think it's odd when I see people who are in St. Louis who are rooting for the Patriots. I'm like, how short is your memory? Have you forgotten? But anyway, man, that's all. We beat this to death. You know, it can't get any stupider than it already has. So that's it for us. But I did want to go ahead and do a roundup on that. So Palmer, thank you for taking out the time and joining us. Once again, I'm Ishmael Sistrunk with the St. Louis American and STLamerican.com, here with Palmer Alexander III. And stay tuned, because we will continue to do roundups and to do other videos regarding the St. Louis Rams and this whole relocation mess, you know, the muck and mire of the potential of the Rams moving. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you stay tuned, and we're going to give you more videos about the St. Louis Rams coming up. With that, we'll see you next week. Peace.